Hey, I hope you were having a good before Thanksgiving weekend. And I must say that this is one of my favorite weekends of all during the course of the year. As you know, we have 52 weeks in all in a year. So therefore, we could average out and have 52 or 53 weekends during the year. But of all those, the one before Thanksgiving has its pros and cons. The pro is you could either celebrate and with friends and family and take your kids out or something. Or you could fuss and go shopping for preparation for Thanksgiving and do all that heavy work so that you could feel more relaxed when the day comes. However, I might want to point out in today's video that 2024 marked in my lifetime the seventh time that during the course of my lifetime that my birthday, November 20th, came the maximum 8 days before Thanksgiving Day arrived. So, as you know, every Thanksgiving when we come this time of year, it's always the fourth Thursday of the month. And it's either in a sequence, either November 22nd to November 28th, and 2024 marks it this year on November 28th. So that also means that you all would have the time Black Friday if you ever want to go shopping online or to the stores. But it's the shortest amount of time that it would be until Christmas Day would arrive. So in today's video, I want to brush up on some of the years that have happened since this year that my birthday came at that day 8 days before Thanksgiving. The very first one happened in 1985. And that was only my second birthday. So my parents gave me the birthday party with my family roughly around that weekend. So, but the result of my birthday party seemed to kind of be an example of why I needed some therapy and want to find out why I was having a little bit of trouble with my play with my cousins and why I wasn't talking to others at that point. So, any case, when my father filmed me, he noticed all those things and roughly told me how I had to learn how to play with others better. But I do recall that at that time was when I started to have thoughts about knocking things over. And eventually, for a second birthday present, it ended up being my first set of bowling pins and a little bowling ball, which I actually played around with around the kitchen area. And 1985 was when our old house was transformed with our kitchen to a new modern look with new fridge, washer and dryer, and even a couple Black and Decker appliances that you could hang up above the surface. So all that together was a new innovative idea in technology for making life a little bit more simple in the kitchen. So that was the first year, 1985. The second one was 1991, and that was when I turned 8 years old. On that particular day, on the Wednesday, my parents gave me a nice little pumpkin tart for my birthday, and I had just recently joined the Cub Scouts at Den 1 with some of my friends back in Burlington. I received a couple of games for gifts that evening, such as Topple and Scrabble. Oh, and I want to mention one thing. For those of you who are watching Scrabble, now on Thursday evenings, Raven Simone is the new host, and it's more or less like the traditional game of Scrabble you play. But back when Scrabble was another game show, it was Chuck Woolery who hosted on NBC, and as at the time I'm filming this video, I just learned that he passed away last night at age 83. So my thoughts are out to those friends and those who were fans of watching him, and probably Love Connection, because he made the popular phrase two and two. So 1991, getting back to that, I waited until Saturday to have that birthday party, and that was one of the most hectic birthday parties with friends that I ever can remember, because there were so many kids, about the size of what you would think would be an average elementary school classroom, who came. And the games I played, I had to divide them into 3 separate shifts with 6 different teams with 2 on each side every time. But we got our usual party bags, and we did the pinata just like I did my 6th and 7th birthday parties. And then the third year where I had with my birthday coming out this year was 1996, when I turned 13. And my parents just gave me a nice, quiet little party, and I had on the dinner table decked out in Elvis decor. But for many kids, when you turn 13 years old, that seems like it's either a yay or nay situation, because you are getting to that point where you go from being a kid to teen. And most likely you're either in 7th grade or 8th grade when you turn that age. And number 4 for the year was 2002. And by then I was in my first year at New England College in Henniker, New Hampshire. So during the week, I ended up getting a birthday cake in the mail by my parents. And then they had another one for me when I got home for that weekend. And 2002, that late fall, was where I remember it snowed very early, even before Halloween, in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And that snow was pretty deep, and it stuck for a long time during the winter months. I think it went all the way until May, during the end of my spring semester that following. But that was when I turned 19, and also I was having a tough time adjusting to being on my own, and my grandmother was having her worst condition with Alzheimer's at that point. So a couple months later, after we took her to my aunt and uncle's house, where she was kind of pacing herself all over the place in confusion, she ended up finally going to a nursing home in Wellesley, Massachusetts. The 5th time I had a birthday that was at this date wasn't until 11 years later, when I turned the magic age of 30. And Janine, my partner, gave me a surprise birthday party at our previous location in Nashua, New Hampshire, at the Clock Tower place. I was really expecting during that weekend just to have a little get together with our friends we had. So I bought at the store some steak and potato, and I was really expecting to just have a nice little get together. And right before I turned 30, Janine's parents came over, and I was really expecting to have a little dinner outing in downtown Nashua. But the way they were reacting at first kind of confused me. But then when they took me into one of our little rooms in our apartment, they flipped on the switch, and suddenly, ha! Surprise! Oh my gosh! Was it really for me? And it turned out, yes, it was. Janine did all this for me. I had a big cake, and I remember some of our friends and one of my old friends came, and my family members. But that was really special. And finally, prior to this year, when I had a birthday that was 8 days before Thanksgiving, was the year that Jean and I had our commitment ceremony, 2019, which for all of you was just a couple months before the national emergency for COVID-19. That was not one of my best years for a birthday, right after our big ceremony and honeymoon, simply because what happened before that, I slipped on the floor when I was visiting someone's house. And then a couple days later, my left ankle just started to hurt like crazy. And I could barely walk or move. And it took overall 2 months to heal. But even before I knew it was fully healed, that was when I started getting those dizzying, depressing conditions. So, but anyway, that day, Janine and I went to the YMCA in Nashua, where the only exercise I could do that evening was ride on the exercise bike. And Jean took me out for dinner to Shorty's Mexican restaurant in Nashua. So, if you're wondering about that place, it is still around in Nashua. I'm not sure if it's not around anymore, that other location in Bedford, New Hampshire. But anyway, those were the years before this one that I had the day of my birthday 8 days before Thanksgiving. And just last night, we went out and did some bowling at the Bayside. And our friend Cooper Bowman joined us for 3 games of bowling. And so did our new friend Christina Adams, but she didn't have the money to bowl, so she just watched us. And I said after my 3rd game that it was a long time since I bowled a 200 plus game in front of my friends. And Bayside usually is one of the harder houses that I can find my target. But I think I took a little tip this morning from Little Monticelli on his tips from Maple Lanes, that I think maybe as I'm getting older, I'm starting to not be as fast on my feet and have my timing the way I used to. So maybe that's a reason why I haven't been bowling as high scores in 10 pin like I used to. And also, since I'm earning money and trying to save for other things, that's why I have not been bowling as much in quite some time. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those years where I had turned my age, which was the maximum amount of days before Thanksgiving. So again, for the records, it's anywhere between 2 to 8 days before that day. And Thanksgiving is always the fourth Thursday of the month of November. So the next one I think is going to be in a 6 year span. I think it's going to be 2030, if I'm not mistaken. So I hope all of you have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. And during the weekend of, why don't you go out and see some displays like the light of the Christmas tree if it's in your hometown? Maybe take care of some shopping duties. And if you kids want some extra incentive or a little treat when December comes on that following Sunday, maybe your parents could ask you to get an advent calendar because of the 1st of December. So Ginny and I are going to be making a new video on our entertainment reviews. We're going to be watching some Christmas specials as usual throughout the month of December. And we're going to be finishing the season 4 of Magnum PI. And in the future, we're going to be starting to watch other shows that I got for my birthday, like Cheers and The Carol Burnett Show. So I hope you all have a good weekend and talk to you soon.